things here. Now, something that comes up quite regularly on the channel, in the comments, is the suggestion that it might be gay or homosexual to have relationships with a trans woman, like someone who's born male but who appears to be a woman. And I obviously always challenge this view, and I'm going to go through a couple of the points that make this reasonable. The normal ones, and I'll reiterate them, are that, first of all, I'm attracted to femininity. Like all men who are attracted to trans women, I'm attracted to femininity, not to masculinity. The Western definition of homosexual is on orientation, on attraction. Homosexual males are attracted to masculinity. I don't know any man who's attracted to trans women who's attracted to masculinity. They're all attracted to femininity, and often very, very feminine presentations. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now the second thing is that in terms of practice, in terms of what I like to do in bed with a partner, is I'm male, I have a male sexuality, I want to penetrate them. It's simple, I don't seek anything else. I certainly don't seek to experience being a woman or anything else like that. I'm a guy, I'm a man. So I can't see how I could possibly fall into this strange category. But there is another way of looking at this, and to understand that, you would have to first understand that gay is not an orientation. Gay is a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that comprises a number of different orientations, some of which we've discussed here. In males, this can be what we call transgender homosexuality. These are very feminized males. But there's also narcissistic homosexuality and pederastic homosexuality. And goodness knows, we've also discussed something called social homosexuality. It's a very broad church, all of which end up basically with men having sexual relationships with each other. But these are men, by the way. They're not trans women, they're men. One of the reasons why I quite happily deny any association with the gay lifestyle is what I'm about to explain. And you can get an insight into this from a comment that was made to me certainly a couple of years ago now, which was somebody came on to, I think, my blog and said, because I was dating a trans woman, that I should accept my queer identity. And I said, obviously, don't be so silly. There's nothing queer about it. She's a woman, and I'm a guy. You know, she's a woman, I'm a guy. There's nothing queer about it, and I'm not about to accept this. But it goes deeper than that. What you have to understand is that the gay lifestyle, the new gay man, as I often call him, is transgressive. Its intention is not to blend into society or to work to get homosexual males accepted by society. Its intention is to revolutionarily destroy society. Right? It is absolutely transgressive. And that's because it was set up, modern Western male gayness, the new gay man, whatever you want to call it, was set up by a guy called Harry Hay in California in 1950, who set up a thing called the Mattachine Society. And there were many people like him. He was not unique. But he was a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. Right? He was a revolutionary socialist. And he had discovered two things. The first was that the Communist Party did not like homosexual males at all. They had no room for them. In the aftermath of World War II, Soviet-style communism was definitely not something you could sell easily in the United States. Joseph Stalin had been shown to be a beast, a murderer. And there were very few people left in the United States who were prepared to countenance that kind of socialism. So what did Harry Hay do? He said, well, what I'll do is I'll use homosexuality to attempt to change society, to destroy the society that I'm in from within and replace it with a communist one, a socialist one. And that is the root of the modern NGM, the new gay man. If you look at statements by all of the leaders of the new gay man movement, like Tatchell and others, Foucault, they were never happy with equality. They didn't want equality. They didn't want to be accepted within society as gay men, as homosexual men. They wanted to change society completely. And this is paralleled in the feminist movement. If you read the works of Germaine Greer. Germaine Greer was never an egalitarian, and she's made that clear till she's blue in the face. She did not agree that it was acceptable for women to be equal to men in a society in which she saw men as being limited. So right from the start, Greer was a female supremacist. She wanted a better deal than men had. And that's also the case with the NGM. They always wanted a better deal than everyone else. And that's why they've always been pleading for special treatment. That's why gay marriage, so-called gay marriage, same-sex marriage, was so important to them. They know that for most people, seeing the sight of two guys in suits with beards kissing and getting married is at best challenging. At best challenging. They know that. But they know that challenging society in that way is something that they think will further their end, which is of installing a communist state. This all works together. The New Gay Man movement, with its lesbian equivalents, they were originally called the Sister of Abilities, and basically the Mattachine Society and the Sister of Abilities kind of melded into the modern LGB. They then added in trans, but when they talk about trans, they're not talking about homosexual transsexuals, they're not talking about true transsexuals, they're talking about autogynephilic transgenderists, or transvestites. People like Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner, when he first came out as trans, said, "We're certainly going to change things around here." That was his exact words. These movements are fundamentally transgressive. Their aim is to change society to suit their ideology. Their aim is not to exist within society and to make that society better. They want to bust it, they want to break it, and then rebuild it in their own model. It's fundamentally iconoclastic, and that's the real reason I won't have anything to do with them. I won't accept a so-called queer identity, because that in itself specifies and implies that you want to destroy the society that you live in and replace it with something else. I don't. I think that the Western society, which we inherited from the Romans, basically, and have exported all over the world, is the finest society that the world has ever known. And we have made improvements to it that the Romans didn't, which have made it much more egalitarian, much more democratic, much more fair. And this is about as good as it gets. I don't see how the kind of changes that are envisioned through the ideas of people like Marx, would actually improve things. All society is a compromise, and the amount of social control that is required to make a social society work is completely unacceptable, certainly to me. So at the moment what we have is the free market capitalist model, which we essentially inherited with a structure of laws and constitutional arrangements, which we have inherited from the Romans. Sometimes these work together very, very well, sometimes they work together less well, but the fact is they are the best available. And I will not sign up to be part of any body that says that the best thing to do would be to destroy it all and replace it with something like the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and then see 100 million people murdered just because they disagreed. I'm not having that. I won't be part of it. And I will not accept it just because it comes in a nice little pink frilly shirt called the New Gay Man, or LGBT, or anything else. You know, the T in LGBT, they're not transsexuals. Transsexuals just want to blend. They just want to be part of the society. Because underlying all of these movements is Marxist thinking. Germaine Greer is a communist. Gloria Steinem was a communist. Peter Tatchell is a communist. Jim Furat is a communist. They're all the same. They're all communists. The only group and they all appeared at the same time. That was in the 1960s. In 1968, that was when the world changed. And communism turned from being something that was being forced on us by a foreign communist party to an internal force, risen from within. Those of you who follow these things, then you will know that it got its real big lift in the 1970s with Foucault, because Foucault, the French pseudo-philosopher, was able to take Marxist thinking and turn it into a slightly different model that was a little bit less materialistic. You couldn't sell communism to a middle class that was already extremely wealthy, or a working class that had 2 cars in the garage. It's not going to work. So you had to change it to do with weird, vague concepts like oppression and nonsenses like that. And Foucault was it was the godsend to these people. And on his thinking, the whole of contemporary humanities thinking is based. And it's all based on the idea that the society we live in must be destroyed. Not can be, not maybe, but must be destroyed. And we have to stand against that. I'm completely against it. I don't want to be any part of that. And the fact is that the trans women that I'm involved with, certainly the ones I know, they don't want it either. You go around the Philippines and find me a trans woman who's not a fervent Dutertista. They're all completely socially conservative. They don't want to change society. They just want to fit in. They just want to be a part of the society that they respect and love and not be victimized. That's it. They don't seek to change society. And of course, men like me, we don't seek to change society at all. We may seek to make small changes that will improve small areas, but we are not seeking fundamental change. The point is that the gay lifestyle innately and intrinsically demands that you must desire fundamental change, and I will have nothing to do with it. So on all counts, I don't accept that for a man to have relationships with a trans woman, an HSTS trans woman anyway, I don't accept that in one iota as in any way homosexual. By all means, the trans women are homosexual males, but the men who have sex with them aren't. That was one of the great lies of the early new gay man movement, that it was sort of like equally shared. It's not. We'll go do another video about that. But this is why I won't accept it, and I think that no trans woman should accept it either. I think that HSTS trans women should stay as far as possible away from the LGBT cult. Just don't go near it. Do what you've always done in the West, which is to remain on the down low, remain secret, remain hidden. In Southeast Asia, it's a bit different because, well, basically because this is a family-oriented society. The West has lost its families, and so everybody knew you when you were 7, and you were dancing around with a towel on your head and a t-shirt tied around your waist to emulate a skirt. And they all know you, what you are. So there's no point in you hiding it. It doesn't matter how good you are and how passable you are to the broader society. The people in your family know. So trans women here tend to be much, much more relaxed. It's like, well, I am what I am. And they accept the fact openly that they are feminized homosexual males seeking straight masculine men. So on every level, I think that men like me and our transsexual partners should absolutely reject this claim by the LGBT movement or LGBT movement actually, on us. We don't accept it. We don't accept that we can be annexed by a political movement, and it is a political movement, just to make up its numbers. No, we're not having that. Well, certainly I'm not having that. And I don't think anybody else should have it either. So I think that, we're going to have a grand reckoning. I think it's coming. And I think that, once again, the people I want to protect are the HSTS, the trans kids, the homosexual transsexuals, the little sexual inverts who are just delightful if they're male and just ordinary guys if they're female. I'm not in this to make any kind of political statement at all. I'm just being me, and I think that that's what we should be allowed to do. And if we're not, You know, we're the guys, after all, we're the straight guys. We fight. You will not be able to co-opt us into your system if that's what you desire to do, and expect us to just do it quietly and meekly. We ain't going to do that. Okay, anyway, that's that one over. I'll come back to this because I think it's quite important, and discuss more the way that these movements, you know, feminism, the gay movement, the lesbian movement, and then also the human rights movement, the equality movement in the United States, how they all came together and all very much paralleled in those crucial years, 1966 to 1970, and especially around 1968, to form a new revolutionary engine for radical social change. And that's what it's all about, radical social change. In other words, to change society into a communist state, a communist dictatorship. And I won't have anything to do with it. I don't think anybody else should either, and I think we should fight them at every corner. You know, on the beaches, in the hills, that sort of thing. Take care, and don't let these people, for any reason, persuade you that you're something that you're not.